Have you ever wondered what makes Ramadan so special? It's about so much more than just fasting. It's really about sharing and kindness and that amazing feeling of community. Today, we're going to go on a little journey with two sisters, Dan and Danya, who discovered what the spirit of Ramadan is all about on a really special trip. So let's dive into their adventure. Okay, so our story begins with these 8-year-old twins, Dan and Danya. Now, they usually celebrate Ramadan in London, but this year was different. They got to travel with their mother all the way to Sudan to stay with their grandmother in the absolutely beautiful city of Omdurman. And right from the moment they arrived, they could just feel this special kind of warmth. I mean, just picture it. Lively, narrow streets where all the houses are nestled close together. You've got friendly neighbors calling out greetings, and everywhere they went, that delicious smell of food cooking for iftar, the evening meal, it was just filling the air. So, on their very first day, their grandmother called them into the kitchen with her super kind, gentle voice. And this is where their first and maybe the most important lesson about giving was about to begin. Their grandmother was holding this big, steaming dish of asida and mula, which is a traditional Sudanese meal. She explained that this food was actually from their own family's dinner, and she asked the girls to do something very special with it. She wanted them to take it to their neighbor, Hajja Zainab. Dan and Danya were, a little curious. Why were they giving away their dinner? Well, their grandmother just smiled and explained this wonderful Sudanese tradition. Turns out, just a few days ago, their neighbor had sent them food in that very same dish. As their grandmother told them, in Sudan, a dish never returns empty. It's like food is a message of love that you just pass back and forth. Later that evening, after the family had finished eating, the girls noticed their grandmother doing something really thoughtful. She carefully gathered up all the leftover food, packed it neatly into these small containers, and put them all in a bag. But instead of putting it away, she quietly placed the bag right outside their front door. The girls, of course, were wondering why. So their grandmother explained her secret little act of kindness. The food was for anyone in the community who might be hungry. By leaving it outside, people could take whatever they needed without ever having to ask, which helps them keep their dignity. True generosity, she told them, means you're also caring about other people's feelings. And you know what? It wasn't just their grandmother. As the days of Ramadan went on, Dan and Danya started to see that this spirit of sharing was absolutely everywhere. Every single day brought a new little adventure in kindness. Like one morning, they watched their grandmother prepare these little bags filled with sweet dates. They walked with her through the neighborhood as she handed them out to neighbors, and even just people passing by, making sure everyone had something to break their fast with later. The girls just loved seeing the streets fill up with so many smiles. Then it was time for another adventure. This time, the girls followed their uncle as he skillfully balanced the family's huge iftar tray piled high with all this delicious food. And where were they going? To the little shop right on the corner of their street. Over at the shop, a few young men were waiting to break their fast. The girls' uncle placed the tray of food in front of them, and their faces just lit up with so much gratitude. On the way home, their uncle explained that these young men had come from really far away to work, and they didn't have any family nearby. So the whole neighborhood shares their food with them, just to make sure they always feel welcome and never, ever lonely. As they walked, their uncle smiled at them and said the traditional greeting, Ramadan Kareem, which means, have a generous Ramadan. And Dan and Danya, just filled with all the kindness they'd seen, replied with the special response they had learned, Allah is more generous, uncle. And in that moment, they really, truly got it. Ramadan makes everyone feel like one big family. So as Ramadan was getting close to the end, a very special day arrived, the last Friday. The girls woke up to this delicious smell coming from the kitchen and just this feeling of pure excitement in the air. This was the day of Rahmatat. So what is Rahmatat? Well, it's one of the most fun traditions of all. All the kids in the neighborhood get together and they go from house to house. At each door, they clap and sing a special chant, and in return, they get a scoop of this warm, delicious dish called fatah, which is usually made with rice and bread and a yummy, savory sauce. And pretty soon, Dan and Danya heard it, the sound of clapping and singing that just got louder and louder. It was the neighborhood kids, and they were chanting this playful rhyme. The hot food hasn't cooled, the lady of the house hasn't come out. It was their happy way of letting everyone know they were here for some fatah. Dan and Danya jumped right into the fun, of course. At each house, a smiling woman would open the door and add a big spoonful of warm fada to their bowls. Then, laughing, the whole group of kids would run to the next house, just so excited to see their bowls getting fuller and fuller. When their trip to Sudan finally came to an end, the twins returned to London. But they didn't just bring back memories. No, they brought back the most important souvenir of all, that beautiful spirit of giving they had learned from their family. In Sudan, they had learned that sharing a meal, well, it isn't just about the food. It's a way to share love, to build community, and to show that you really care for one another. And back in London, they were totally ready to share that message. The very next Ramadan, they were in the kitchen helping their mother, preparing plates of food. Then, just like they had seen in Sudan, they went and delivered the food to their own neighbors, keeping that beautiful tradition of sharing alive. And so, Dan and Danya truly understood. They learned that generosity is this special part of Sudanese culture that just shines its brightest during Ramadan. It's a time to share what you have, to bring joy to others, and to make sure nobody is forgotten. They learned that a simple plate of food can literally be a bridge that connects hearts no matter where in the world you are. What a beautiful journey. Dan and Danya learned so many wonderful things. So let's see what you remember. Are you ready for a little quiz? Okay, first question. What was the name of the dish the grandmother sent with the girls to her neighbor? That's it. Okay, here's the second question. Why did the grandmother leave a bag of food outside her door after iftar? Think about that very special reason she gave. You're doing great. All right, for our final question. What is the name of that super fun tradition on the last Friday of Ramadan where kids go door to door to get that special dish called fata? Okay, let's see how you did. The dish for the neighbor was asida and mullah. The food was left at the door for people in need to protect their dignity. You did a fantastic job. You've learned all about the beautiful ways people share kindness during Ramadan. Thanks so much for joining us on this adventure.